I actually opened with, if your job is to outsource leads, then your job is at risk. And I raised that issue because, everybody's talking about two things. One, obviously margin compression is always at the top of everybody's mind. Well, in my opinion, a lot of dealers are contributing to that margin compression by paying a lot of good money for these external lead sources that truly aren't trackable, or they might not be getting the ROI that they should be getting.
Define external lead sources.
Third-party lead sites.
So again, there's always a discrepancy between that. You're talking about like a listing site such as AutoTrader, or
Sure.
just your new car leads.
Anything that's not a first party lead.
Yeah. Anything that's not coming directly from your website. And then the second part of it is, if everybody's so concerned about wrapping their heads around digital retailing and trying to go in that direction, my argument is, how can you try to wrap your head around digital retailing when you haven't even wrapped your head around trying to optimize your own website to try to drive leads through that? It's like they're skipping a step, in my opinion. So
I would agree with you there.
So that was a big topic, and I think it comes back to, and I love how Steve Stauning said it the other day. He rattled off that whole litany of all the new things. Like, remember, somebody actually did a presentation a couple years ago on how to optimize your Pokemon Go strategy. Like, Steve had a brilliant list. I know he probably did it tongue in cheek, but there was a dose of reality, hidden in that message. A lot of people, continue to get stuck on the shiny new object. I mean, shit, the three of us love shiny objects. We love to get tech gadgets.
And as I get older,
no, I know. That's
less into them.
We may like it and enjoy it, but I'm beyond that myself, Alex. And it's like, and that's a lot of the stuff that I know we hopefully can touch on.
You think that
today.
works against this, though?
What's that?
You think that works against this just a little bit?
Sure. I think about all the managers we had originally and how, they didn't even want to open up a browser.
No,
Internet,
totally.
you need specials? Why do you need specials all the time? That's
or just think, why do we need a web-based CRM? Why do we need a web-based DMS? Why can't we just use typical green screen, blue screen?
I can understand that one.
But I also mean, just in general, as you get older, you're just not as in tune to new technologies.
Well, you found tools that work for you. It's harder to change.
Yeah.
Well, there was a time, though, like when we were just talking about it, Alex, and Google Glass is a great example. It was the introduction of a seemingly disruptive piece of technology that truly nobody had ever seen before. And that's one of those things where it's like, hey, that's really neat and that's kind of cool. I'd love to play with that.
Yeah.
There's no intention with.
Would you today?
Yeah, with regards to how I'm going to use this, embedded into a process that's going to improve my business. Nobody was ever thinking like that. It was like, oh, hey, I got a new cool app that lets me make funny pictures, or, hey, I got this tool that does this. I got these glasses that let me record. I look like a complete dork and it's creepy, but I'm still going to use them. That's the way we thought then. Now, God,
Yeah, give me some Google Glass and QR codes.
Yeah. Now, who's actually thinking like that? Nobody. I mean, yeah, there's some newer things. Like, for instance, the whole thing that Kevin Fry's doing with Clutch, with the subscription service.
Well, Clutch and also Nick Cibella.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great, it's a newer solution that hasn't been seen before. That's trying to adapt itself to a change in the perceived consumer behavior. Rapid changes that are going out there. But again, do we know? Does it even work? Is it? Does it work financially? Are people going to use this?
Well, there's
a great comment about that, Alex, in terms of is this actually? Are people going to use this to change cars, or are they going to use this as like a gateway type of mechanism? You trade it up 2-3 times, and then you wind up saying, oh, the third time I'm done switching. This is the car I want. Then I go and buy it. Who knows how this is going to work?
Well, there's something missing in some of these niche technologies. So when there's only one company or one person preaching it or pitching it, they usually don't work. But when you have a number of them, such as digital retailing, there's a lot of companies. Brian says there's at least 11. Cliff says there's going to be 38.
I think there's close
You
to
know, that's one of those times where a rising tide raises all ships. But, if you've got, and I hope Nick Sabella, for example, is quite successful, because it'd be cool to see virtual reality do something. But he's the only one that I've heard of who's pushing it. So he's not on that rising tide. He's the single ship out there right now. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't go the way of QR codes or Google Glass. Sorry to shut down the conversation.
thought you were going to keep on talking.
No, I'm done.
Like I said, everybody loves the shiny toys and the new objects, but yeah, I don't know whether it's age or maturity or just a focus. I mean, obviously, my own perception of it now, I just don't have time for it. I'd rather have something that's going to, truly contribute, and something that's going to make a mark, and somebody
Back to the basics.
That's all it is, Jeff, and that's a perfect segue into some of the topics that
That's why I said it.
we're talking about. It's just. That's the whole concept that I had, this idea of, hey, let me share with you the 9.5 things that your 20 group isn't teaching you or isn't talking about. And some of these things may, not to say that all 20 groups are behind the time, but in my opinion, having spoken at a few 20 groups over the years, I've seen where, unfortunately, the moderator and the people in there, they're unfortunately just not equipped to be able to handle some of these topics. That's why we often bring in guest speakers to them. But at the same time, there's an opportunity to be able to say, hey, let's take a step back. Like you said, to your point, what are these basics that we're not covering?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them.
Still, after all this time. Well, we had, last week we had Jason Rice on, and both of us got into a great discussion around just the basics of merchandising and how dealerships still fail at those basics of merchandising. And you can walk into many dealerships, make a few changes, do this, and this, and out of nowhere, you're going to quickly increase sales. So with you said 9.5, and number one of those, I think, was something around conversion, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, there really was no order to them, but I mean, just let's take a look at, there's a couple categories within conversions, for instance, that I think might either, again, depending on who you're with and what group, but they're either not being talked about or at all, or honestly, when it is talked about,
I used to be so conversion heavy. It was all about conversion. But then I guess I don't know. It just sort of, I just don't measure it as much as I used to. Maybe I should. Maybe that's my fault. But I don't. So
well, let's look at let's start at the top. Okay.
But don't sell yourself short, Jeff. You're still looking at what sells cars, right? That's a big conversion.
Well, that's the thing. I think maybe it's just opened up to a more broad term.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
or the one that actually has money attached to it. How's that?
Yeah. There you go.
So many people get stuck in the rut with, and I know we've all seen it, and everybody's guilty of it. We have a conversion that's simply labeled as a destination on a page. Is that a conversion? Not necessarily. That's I like to talk about the ABCs. A lot of people have labeled that. You got your acquisition, your behavior, and your true conversion. Let's take a look at how we're acquiring. Where are they coming from? Then the behavior. What are they actually doing when they get there? And then obviously the conversion. And if you're going to be truly technical about it and theoretical about it, you got to take a look at either the phone calls, the form submissions, and now it was just announced this week that Google's opening up the next level of in-store visits. If somebody on their phone clicks an ad, they're going to be able to track that IP address to an actual walk-in. And everybody's always said that's the elusive metric.
Yeah.
So to be able to pay attention to those types of things, that's what the dealers need to be paying attention to. Everybody will go through and say, set up all of your goal conversions in there. But again, a lot of it might just be an exercise in futility because we're setting up these goal conversions that truly aren't measuring anything that's contributing to the classic disc. You know, and like you said, Alex doesn't sell cars. And that's where I think a lot of people unfortunately just miss that. And that's, you got to pay attention to it. And, you know, you'll hear it all the time. Somebody will be like, oh yeah, my website converts at 96%. It's like, what do you even mean 96%? Yeah, because we're, you know, because we're tracking a
everybody clicks something.
Exactly. You know, so that leads into it. So I think it's more about, let's take a step back and look at the basics with regards to what these things actually mean from a definition, because I think some of it gets lost in you know, in context and you know, you might in syntax and things like that. So it's just, you know, let's take a step back and define that, and then that's where some of the education is missing. You know, but then that leads into the next topic, Jeff. You know,
well,
more
the conversions, because that ties into the analytics of everything.
Exactly, and then,
how
you
you're
know,
tracking it.
Well, there's a good comment here from Gary May. He says conversions are used to validate vendors rather than business. And I think we're not, I don't know if we're saying that directly or if you're saying that directly, Eric, but he's got a point.
oh no, I wouldn't argue with that at all. That's spot on, Gary. You know, obviously you want to be able to, yeah, everybody has to at some point defend their service that they're doing, but those that are out there defending it based on a false level of security from metrics that you may be able to essentially, let's call it what it is, essentially pass it off as the gospel. You know, and I've said it for years as well. It's this indoctrination that's been made on these false metrics. You know, hey, you know, how many times have we always joked about it? You get a call from your vendor and you're like, hey, Bob, everything looks fantastic this week. I'll talk to you next week. You know, and that's essentially the call. You know, how long is that going to continue on? You know, until you can finally get down and be like, okay, we were able to contribute to, you know, to based on this last week's activity, Bob. Now you had X number of phone calls, X number of lead submissions. Oh, and by the way, your in-store visits tracking is now turned on, and we noticed that we were able to generate another 265 you know, in-store visits. That's a different conversation than saying, hey, 27 people visited your contact us page.
Especially when you get them 265 walk-ins.
Absolutely.
So this in-store visits with Google Analytics, is there, I mean, what more details do you have around that?
They actually just announced that. We did. We had our own Digital Innovator Summit on Monday night with Google. Actually, we did that in combination with them. That was our second one that we had, and our speaker Kelly McNerney from Google just shared with a little teaser. They have 3 new verification steps that have to be made through your Google My Business page. And they just released that information, I think, the day after that at Digital Dealer.
They want your router ID. They want your all the things that somebody might touch as they walk into your building.
It was much like you had to do when you originally set up your Google My Business. Like, apparently, there's 3 additional steps that they have. We're working on getting together with Google, obviously, on that information to try to share that, make it very simple, because it's something for the last 6 months, guys. It has just it just suddenly appeared as a new metric in Google Analytics. Yeah, and they didn't have any rhyme or reason as to who and where and why and, you know, how it was, you know, how this metric was being shown. But they said that they've announced the next level. They're gonna gradually open this up several hundred dealers at a time, because I believe there was only 1,500 dealers in the entire country that had actually qualified for this tracking. So this will be a major turning point with regards to how the vendors that are doing it properly are going to be able to contribute to the return on ad spend, the ROI, and all the good stuff that the dealers really should be looking for.
You jogged my memory. I signed up for something with Google about 6 months ago. They sent me something in the mail, and it was like this little disc, and I had to put it somewhere in the dealership, and I forget where the hell I put it.
It wasn't an old AOL disc, was it, Jeff?
You can ask the NSA; they'll tell you.
Yeah, it's supposed to be able to track exactly what you're talking about. So maybe that was like step 1.
I'm not aware of the disc, but yeah, I mean, just. Yeah, so my recommendation is people need to, you know, basics like that, people need to understand. and you'll see it. It'll come to the surface quite a bit more over the next couple of weeks, and people will start talking about it some more. And I know we were fortunate enough to have several of our clients that actually had it opened up for them. Again, no rhyme or reason to it. It just appeared. But being able to show that level of of granularity with regards to the performance, that changes the whole conversation. And again, now a dealer's going from a conversation that says, hey, your bounce rate was this, your pages per session was that. Again, as a dealer, I don't care about that. It's important to be able to understand how the good quality of the behavior. Yes, we want to be able to see people that are bouncing lower and bouncing less and spending time on it. But I think we've all graduated to the level, at least I'd like to think we have. We've graduated to that level where we know that if we see 2 seconds time, average time on site, you've got an issue there. That topic's been beaten to death, but being able to go that next step and saying, okay, now that we understand where they're coming from, what they're doing, and now finally what they're converting on, again, better conversation to have. So that's one of the major things. And I think from there, Jeff, that itself segues into the topic of, what do you do from once they get there, how do you contribute to that conversion? And that's the next topic I had was just simply links, the links in the site. Okay.
There's, you're moving way past our comments coming in, Eric. Everyone seems to still be hung up on this Google device.
I know, it's the beacon.
And I can't get my head.
I'm going to go get it. I'm going to go find it real quick and bring it back.
Yeah, so
I don't have the comments up, so I'm
telling you it is the beacon. And then Ryan Everson just posted it's a Bluetooth beacon.
That's what it is, yeah.
And leaves, it triggers their Google Maps app to ask for a review, photos, answer a question, etc. Also used to more accurately track the live traffic in Google My Business. So this reminds me of a product that we tried at dealer.com. We never put it in a dealership, but we had a company that we acquired. This is long before Cox. This was many years ago. And that company was called Epic One. And Epic One had a program. It was, almost think of it as like a tripwire, and it had 2 little sensor things that you could put on either side of a door. And as somebody walked through, it would try to, clip onto their Bluetooth or send them some sort of Wi-Fi signal that you could then grab their device ID from. And then if they were to come to your website from that device, you'd then be able to track their online and offline trafficking of your business. And this was great for like businesses that were in malls, because they could come in, you could see people walking in and out, and as they were going into other stores in the mall and that kind of thing. It was good for that, but it was never sophisticated enough for us to fully deploy it at dealer.com. So didn't get through really phase 1, which was putting it in the cafeteria and tracking all the employees.
Yeah, so
telling them.
The item that was discussed at our event on Monday, Alex, was not the beacons. This was just simply there's basically like I said, a 3-step process, and I'm just going from memory here, so I may be slightly off. And again, the store visits, you had to link your Google My Business page to AdWords. That was the first step. And then you had to verify your store locations. And then I believe you had to have your location extensions turned on in your AdWords. Mm-hmm. And once you went through these 3-step process, all 3 of those 3 steps in the process, then you had the ability to be considered for the program.
Well, they sent this in the mail.
Is that it? It's just that little thing?
Yeah. I found it.
Did they even give you some 2-sided tape?
It was, and it was hard to get off. That's what took me so long. Yeah. And I set it up in the, it came with, I was looking for the package that it came in, but I think I threw it away. I don't like clutter.
So she didn't mention anything about the beacon in her presentation. And I have to believe that they're 2 separate things.
They very well may be.
Yeah, I would think by now that Google's got enough device information, including even, Wi-Fi hotspots, that they wouldn't even need that.
Yeah. And again, I know, well, just very simply, Jeff, I know the people that we've got that we're tracking the in-store visits with already, they don't have the beacon installed. So
interesting. Man, it's so funny. I forgot all about this until.
Man, so we just found out, and so we're 30 minutes in here, and the beacon has just been discovered, and it's already old.
Yeah.
Put that next to the Google Glass, Alex.
So before we got into the beacon, you were talking about navigation, I believe. You were talking about links and all that good stuff.
Let's talk about navigation, because that one burns me up. I'll be perfectly honest with you, and it's something that just I'll call it. This pisses me off, because navigation is horrible. Okay, and there's that old tactic, and Alex, I know you're familiar with it. Just navigation bloat. Okay, so
I've got a rule for it.
What's that?
I'll let you talk first, though.
All right. So I just broke it down like this. I would like to see a rule, just a standardization. 7 navigation items on top, 7 top level. Stick with 7.
Oh, you're going to hate my rule. Way more strict than yours.
If you can, if your rule says 3 or 4, I love you even more. But
I call it the 3-5-7 rule. I got to tell you now.
All right. So go ahead.
Right. So 3-5-7 rule. If you're going to have anything in your navigation, you should restrict it to 3. If you can't restrict it to 3, make it 5. If you can't restrict it to 5, make it 7, but never more than 7.
Well, so you're like a traditional store and you negotiate. I'm a one price. I just say go with 7, because most people aren't going to do 3 or 5. So my reasoning, same thing is, get rid of that extra bloat on top. And most of the time, again, this is part of the educational part, Jeff, that most people just simply don't understand that having that link in that navigation, obviously, is passing along the authority from the home page to the pages it's linked to. So why dilute that and spread it out even more to these pages that, quite honestly, nobody's ever going to anyways? So just do a simple analysis. Take a look at the pages in your navigation, which ones they're coming into, from top content, whatever metric you want to look at, but just whatever section in GA. But look at that and see what the activity is. Set a limit, and if you're not getting the entrances from it, get it out. And on top of this, here's another thing, that major pet peeve that's bugged me for years. Why do we need to have a trade-in evaluation link under every single
one, bro?
Just get rid of it. You don't need it in there.
No, it's what we got to do.
And that's almost,
it's what the manufacturer recommends. Yeah. It's whatever trade company you're with recommends.
Because it helps the vendor, right, Alex? That's what's happening. Usually that link is from another plugin, or another framed-in solution.
Not only is it on every link in the top nav, it's also 10 times on the VPP, the SRP.
Well, then you have, and you can go through, find your duplicates in your navigation and trim the fat, trim the bloat. If there's too many in there.
Does it really matter?
Yeah, it absolutely does. My
logic. So, I mean, you as a consumer, you go, oh my goodness, there's just too many links in this top navigation. I can't shop here.
No, it's not about that. No, it's not about that. It's more about just making it easier. Why do we as salespeople in the car dealership give the user a contained choice? When do you want your appointment to be, Mr. Smith? 2:15 or 3:45? We do that to give them a simple choice. Because if you say, hey, pick a time, it doesn't happen. Same thing, if you go to the drop-down navigation and you have 35 things in there and you got 19 slide outs for a third layer as well, it's overwhelming. Give the user a couple of key choices. Direct them where they want it. I've said it for years. People become very, very dumb when they get to a website, and it's like it's like herding cattle. So you need to put the bank stanchions in there. How many times have you done that? You go into the bank and there's stanchions in there. You're the only person. People will still walk through it. You guide the user through where you want them to go, and it'll make it easier. And then on top of that, you can even make an argument for, especially with something that's easy to do, like the Dealer Inspire website, make a separate mobile navigation. Take a look at your entrances from mobile. If you're not getting any traffic on your mobile devices, you could literally have a secondary navigation for your mobile devices. So,
Well, click the hamburger. That's
Yeah.
usually the problem with mobile. So they don't
Yeah.
know that that's a menu.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
What's Gary May saying? He said, Joe Webb, you see Jeff Kirshner is his client. I don't see the rest of the comments.
oh, there's no. It's
All right.
Joe is making a joke. As
Joe
usual.
Webb making a joke.
Right.
Come on now.
So now let's go the next step further, further down the lineage there with links. So how many times have you seen on a home page where it'll say either something, the classic, either click here and it's linked to the inventory, or it just says cars, or even worse, it just says new cars, things like that. If you're going to have a deep link in there, I've said this for years as well. Hardly anybody is ever going to click those. If they do, fantastic. But at least if you're going to have a link, make it so the link is at least as relevant as possible.
Does anchor text still matter?
Absolutely, it does.
Really?
Google wants to see every possible relevant signal to be able to link a relevant page to another relevant topic. It's as simple as that, Jeff. And we're still stuck in a day where people are not even leveraging that properly, or they've got way too many links. I heard it again even this week, Jeff, at Digital Dealer, where somebody was telling me they've got 3 different links with different anchor text with the same URL destination to another landing page that they've got on their website.
That's bad.
And again, they're thinking that they're going to get extra link juice out of that to be able to help that page run. And I tried telling that person,
That's 1999.
Oh, yeah, you got the same link on there. Google only recognizes the first one anyways, but it's little things like that that make a difference, not only for the appearance and the experience, but also just from a theoretical standpoint with how you're supposed to actually optimize it. And if you're truly trying to boost the ranking for that page, by glamming off the homepage authority, make the link, do it the right way. And I've said this for years as well, guys. Nobody has ever gone to Google and typed into the search bar, click here, in the hopes of finding a Nissan Maxima for sale in their backyard. That's not how it works. And if that's what you want to do, then at least make the link, Nissan Maxima for sale, Nissan Maxima in Cleveland, whatever it may be, whatever you want to do, at least make it a little bit more relevant.
See, there for a while, anchor text went away. It didn't have as much relevancy. And I guess it's back to that. Dude, I used to study SEO so hard. And honestly, the past couple of years, I've just really, because it's so fragmented now. Even though your on-page SEO apparently really hasn't changed that much.
No, it's not as much, but and again, there's a second piece of that too, because in the presentation I'm doing next week, I'm talking about on-page and off-page.
What about external links?
Yeah, while we don't do it, this is more of just something I'm trying to share with the community. And I may piss somebody off by saying it, but unfortunately, it's true. If anybody's paying for an SEO package that somebody is buying or trying to build, off-page links, there's a lot that they need to know with regards to the questions that they should be asking, the metrics that they should be looking at for the process that's being used, and most importantly, just the quality of these links. People will say this day in and day out that links don't matter. You look it up; it says it right in the Google guidebook. It says it in everything that you can read in the quality standards. Links are still about 19 to 21% of the overall ranking factor. It's one of the largest segments. Remember, Jeff, years ago, it used to be about 50%.
Yeah.
Yes, it's strong, but it's still a major piece of the ranking elements that are out there.
Well, and from sites that had authority.
Yeah, again, it's a mixture of quality and quantity, but again,
I remember calling all the local nonprofit.orgs for a link.
Again, if you can get those links, they're fantastic. But again, the people that are trying to get these links, unfortunately, and like I said, I hate to say it, and if I may piss somebody off, well, so be it. But there's a lot of crap out there that's being peddled in terms of trying to build off-page optimization tactics. It's not as easy as people like to think, and unfortunately, dealers don't even truly understand the concept of it. And the best way that I've ever described it is, think of these backlinks as votes. The more votes that you can get, the better you'll be. Unless you're running for president, that is. But unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get.
Well,
You're not going to be able to get backlinks, like you used to be.
Some backlinks are like the electoral college, but so to your point of like dealers don't know, and Gary's in here saying the SEO is junk, and until Google publishes the way things work, the way they're currently doing it, or whatever their rules are, it's everybody's taking a stab at it. It's all a guessing game, and Gary does make a good point.
Yeah, because he
another
didn't
comment.
say SEO is junk. I think what he meant was most SEO out there are junk.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, did I say I missed that most word?
That's fine.
I'm
here.
I understand what he's saying.
Yeah. So, so he said there, and there are still best practices to SEO. So if you think of Google more as like they're trying to mimic how people work in the real world, if you're out shopping for something and you've never, you don't have any experience of buying it before, and there was no such thing as the internet, what would you do? You go ask some people.
Right.
So if people said, "Oh, go to this dealership and buy this car," or whatever, it's kind of the same way Google works. So who's the most authoritative thing saying you're good to go shop at?
Well, that's an interesting point that you raised there, Alex. I think that's a fantastic segue into one of the other topics. It's the the third category of SEO, and that's the local SEO. To your point, if you want to know something good about a product, what do? We do it on Facebook all the time. We ask our friends, our family, whatnot. Can we get our recommendations? Well, Google what's their job? Their job is to answer your question real quick with the best answer. And especially from a local standpoint, 35% of all searches are essentially local based. So with that, Google wants to give you the best result for those businesses that are actually near you. And how do they do that? That comes back from comes back to the links that you can create naturally through all the local citations. And a lot of dealers just unfortunately aren't familiar with that. I know it's a topic that we've talked about a long time. We talked about it at Think Tank years ago, Jeff. Greg Gifford pounds the table on it in all of his presentations. But again, it's still something that just is missed, unfortunately, through a lot of the dealers. They don't understand the importance of these local citations, how to manage that, how important that really is, to the, from a review and recommendation standpoint.
That was my next thing. Where does the review and ratings come in? I mean, that's always been, sort of up and back and forth, up and down on the importance and the relevance of that for the SEO.
Well, the ratings and reviews obviously are important. But again, there's always been that long-standing theory too that most people will weed out the 5 stars, no comments, and they'll weed out the 1 star and the long ranting and raving because those are the wild card. And so they try to go to the in-between. There was a study a long time ago that we had said and quoted about Yelp. People, that's why they're a little bit tighter, at least with their ratings. And part of the reason why was because at least everybody's profile had their picture and their real name, and that was it. And people didn't want to just be known as the person that's bitching or the person that's just giving the glowing reviews, because they weren't realistic, basically. Yeah. But again, the point of it is at least having those out there, and again, being able to do the right things within, say, like a paid search ad that has the proper ratings and review extension applied to it, or just having the ability to show those stars. And Google changed it now where
I haven't seen that for a while.
Well, Google said that you can actually scrape your online reviews, and you can now place them on your website as long as you don't apply the schema markup to it. So the ability to show these, obviously, Google understands the importance. They don't want you to try to game the system, obviously, to be able to show those, but from a ranking standpoint. But regardless, whether it's in a search result or on your website, being able to demonstrate social proof, still very, very, very important thing. We did it on our used car sites. We try to put customer review testimonials on every single page of the website. Now it's a huge thing.
Really? right.
What else you got, Jeff? What other topics you want to talk about?
Well, you got the 9.5 things that your 20 group isn't telling us.
What about?
You've got like 4 down. Where are
Well,
the
I
5.5,
gave him a
Eric?
list. I gave him a whole list. I'll let him pick.
VDPs,
Yeah,
landing pages.
my question is this.
I remember there was a gentleman out there that made, a few years ago, he was all about landing pages, and he like basically built this business on these shit ass landing pages. I think he actually sold that company to somebody stupid enough to buy it. Do you remember, Alex?
Like
Landing
20
landing
different
pages
people
by
are coming to
you,
mind right now, Jeff.
Us, Larry Bruce name.
Oh.
Mine. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeff. Why do people go to a VDP? I'd love to hear what your answer is. And then, Alex, I'll let you answer. Why do people go to a VDP?
More information on the vehicle.
Man. Alex, what do you think?
I think the first question is to figure out if it's in stock.
Well, and I'm not saying you guys are wrong. I'm just saying my answer is people go to a VDP to look at the rest of the pictures because that's the only.
I said more information.
Yeah. Use your words. Though. Use your words.
Whatever.
I honestly, I believe people go to a VDP to try to look at more pictures and video because you don't see all the pictures in. Not every web provider provides the ability to slide through. Some of them are starting to do that, which I think is smart. But again, they want to see. Yes.
Hey, I used to do 8 to 9 photos on listing sites, and the last photo, or in the middle, I would have had a generic image and it says visit our website for more photos and video. And once I had done that, the traffic increase was pretty substantial.
Oh, well, people want those.
Yeah.
But again, and this obviously I'm biased, guys. Why do we create our landing page system? Because we know that 90% of all vehicles are leased or loan, financed, or, via lease or a loan. So why don't we show them the payments? And why don't people put the payments on? Because it's basically next to impossible to do that in real time. Yeah. So that was the problem that we were trying to solve. But we can't, obviously with our solution, we can't affect that payment just yet, something we're working on, but we can't affect that payment on the VDP. Some of the providers are starting to get to that point. We want to be able to show that earlier and then obviously be able to get them to it. But we have also seen through our data, Jeff, that when people come to our landing pages or our leaderboard pages, and then they continue that journey on to the SRPs, mm-hmm. Then they're staying on the page longer. They're getting the information. They're not bouncing, all the behavior stuff, but then obviously being able to track the conversion from there, and we see an increase in the conversion. So that data through the journey is helped. I'm sorry?
That's because you're able to show and display the payment?
Absolutely, yeah. To be able to show 2 different lease payments and a finance payment, mm-hmm. Along with the introductory merchandising information, like the tech packages, auxiliary, Bluetooth.
What about OEMs that don't allow you to show any type of sales price, and you're just basically basing that payment off the compliance?
It doesn't matter. I mean, again, the question is, somebody's looking at that, Jeff, whether you're talking about Mercedes or Honda or Nissan, where you have to follow those, OEM rules. The problem is any of those other sites, they're still not showing a payment. And most of the buyers, majority of the buyers are still going to wind up asking the question at some point in the buying process, how much is my monthly payment going to be?
At 84 months, right?
It could be whatever you want. We're not the ones suggesting that. I mean,
we've got a topic over in the forums.
I know. For our used car stores, we use 72 months. I know
criminal too.
It's an option.
There are used car leases out there.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of dealers trying to do that, and I think that's going to be even more prevalent. And that's
better for America.
Hey,
keep the economy rolling.
If that's what the customer wants to do, again, the part of the answer that needs to be the answer that needs to be given is, well, what's my payment going to be on that lease? And if you're my point is this, Alex, if you're going to be advertising a used car lease, why not show the lease payment on there?
Agreed.
It's a simple, it's a simple user experience.
You said something a minute ago which sort of struck a chord with me because of a digital retailing Refresh Friday we did a few weeks ago with Brian Pash and Cliff, which we've mentioned before. But you said that it's nearly impossible to show the payments in real time. What did you mean by that?
So a couple different points, and a great question. So one, it's difficult for the dealer to merchandise the vehicle with a payment on their offers, on any of the vehicles. But at the same time, it's next to impossible to be able to match that offer to an external ad. Say, for instance, a pay-per-click ad. They're not going to be able to put that in there. If you try to do this, at scale for a dealership, Jeff, if you try to go out right now and match all of your payments on your vehicles for sale, get that payment into your website, and also try to match that to a pay-per-click ad, most of the time it's going to be done on a manual basis, obviously, trying to match that up. But then again, if you're trying to create multiple ads, we create 184 ads per model, to try to do that at scale for every vehicle in stock.
And then you include the price in the description of the ad?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We make so many different versions of that ad because we want to be able to answer whatever question may be out there. Now, I don't care if there's only 12 people in your market this month that are going to search for, Mercedes-Benz finance rate.
Hey, I won all 12.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only way you're going to get that is by being able to create an ad in real time with the actual transactional data that matches that person's intent. And so, that way, to your point, Alex, you have an ad with a payment, a savings, multiple leases, a finance rate. If somebody is looking for a zero down or a sign and drive, whatever, to have an ad prepared for that. Now that's just coming back to understanding what it is that Google wants, and they want ads that match intent. So that's what that's really what it was.
And then that gives you a higher quality score, right?
Absolutely. Higher click-through rate, lower ad cost, all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
So
I think you just hit on the next evolution of digital retailing.
Absolutely. And that's why I said in the beginning, how do you even begin to wrap your head around that without understanding what the basics are of being able to drive good quality traffic to your site? I just don't believe that the digital retailing is going to happen off the site. I mean, you don't search for new running shoes and then get a separate landing page that then refers you over to Amazon. You do it all right there. You see an ad before Amazon that's got the product, got the price, it takes you right to the page, you buy it. And before we can ever get to that first step of evolutionary change for it, again, and I said this, in terms of the transformation that we have to do, that we're going through. I said this in Vegas this week in my presentation, that everybody's talking about this digital transformation. It's not the digital that you need, it's the transformation portion of it. And that transformation essentially means the educational element and the awareness that you need to have about these items that are going to go into changing this. You just got to change the way we're thinking about how effective our websites actually are. How many times have you seen the question in the online groups or even in your own forums, guys, with regards to, hey, what should I do about, XY, car gurus? What should I do about cars.com? What should I do about Auto Trader? Has anybody had any success with canceling these? What are my alternatives? The fact that we're still seeing those questions today, still, 15
years later.
Yeah, it's been asked. It gets asked every week. I'm only in a couple other online forums in Facebook as well, but it's the same question over and over. And it's ad nauseum. And I understand. There's always new people coming in, and there's always people that don't understand. They may not have the network reach or know the people, but they're asking a genuine question. And it's crazy to think that type of information is still just it's not being passed along. It's not as prevalent as, I mean, Christ, we take all this stuff for granted. It's not the same thought process for a lot of the people that are out there.
As Dealer Teamwork, are you working with any of the buy online digital retailing companies out there?
No, not at this time.
I can see, again, we're talking about their synergies. I can see.
Yeah, absolutely. In a bigger picture, longer term play, it could absolutely, be a nice marriage for those two to come together. But like I said, we're still dealing with most of the issues that we've talked about today, Jeff. When we're going in and just simply from a baseline educational standpoint, hey, Bob, here's what you got to do. You got to fix your website. You got to get people to a landing page. You got to be able to change your ads in real time. You got to distribute it out to Facebook and do email campaigns with the relevant content. Being able to just change that line of thinking, that's how you get the ball rolling. And then, dealers are at, different stages of the game. I've got dealers that have been on it for 6 months. They're still just wrapping their head around this change. Then all of a sudden, you get a new client. We got one that we just signed up a couple weeks ago. A good friend of mine here in Rochester, actually, Nick Cohn. And all of a sudden, boom, this guy's like 2 days into it, and he's off the charts. You get different various levels.
Why is that? Is there a different website provider?
No, in this case that I'm talking about just personal attitude, personal effort. That's all. I mean, Nick's an awesome guy. He's been around the business now for a while.
You put a successful person in anywhere, and they're going to be successful.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the effort and the attitude that they put into it as well.
Eric, not to put you on the spot or anything, but what are some of the different website companies out there that you guys work with that you find is most easy to work with?
At this point, they've all been great to work with for us. We work with every major provider, platform agnostic, but but still, dealer.com, Dealer Inspired, Dealer On, do a lot of work with Carbase. It doesn't really matter which website platform it is. The key obviously comes down to the level of service that the individual dealer is going to get. But it's nice, guys, that we found that we've actually helped become the glue between and almost like a buffer between the client and the web provider. We can be an extra layer of support for them. Being able to just interject and just be able to offer little pieces of help. If we need to speed up the process, with us putting our code on the site and things like that. Everybody's been fantastic to work with, and we get the dealers, all the web providers see the benefit of having our pages on their site. They know it's a stickier tool, and they stick around longer, and obviously it helps the conversions. That's what the web providers want. We just, Sean has always said, he's had a great line. It's not like we're not buying the building. We're just renovating the rooms inside of it.
I like that. And that's exactly what you guys do.
Yeah, it is. And we've said this, I've said it for years. I've said it again in our presentation this week. It's not, everybody's out there saying they need a new digital strategy, that they don't. What they need is a new strategy powered by better digital. And that's what the point of all this stuff is. We're just trying to focus in on the better digital tactics that are being deployed out there. And again, to your point before, Jeff, it's not about the new shiny objects. It's about, taking a step back and taking a look at those little things that truly do make a difference, whether it's a link here, a link there, the way the navigation is structured, getting rid of this extra crap that's in the website. Not every page needs to be in the navigation. Just taking a look at the quality of the merchandising, obviously, taking a look at the quality of the experience itself on the mobile device. Ask a dealer. Just ask a dealer today. Anybody that's listening right now, throw it in the comments. I bet you there's somebody out there that can't, off the top of their head, recite the number of mobile users they've had or what percentage of mobile users they have. Dealers need to know that. And a lot of dealers, I talked to a couple dealer principals even, a couple owners, they didn't even understand how many mobile users were coming to their site. I think we've lost sight of a lot of that little stuff. And once they start to understand, oh my God, 72% of my traffic last month came from a mobile device. Okay, I need to understand then how my ads and how my organic listings actually show up on a mobile device. Do they answer the question? And again, here's a perfect real life example. if you do a search for a Ford Explorer lease, obviously your intent is to look for a lease payment. Well, if you walked into a showroom and you went up to the greeter got you, a salesperson, they come over, and the first thing you said was, hey, how much is the Ford Explorer lease? If that guy looked you in the eye and said, hey, thanks for shopping, we've got a great selection of Ford Explorers, call us today, contact me, let's go take a look. If he gave you that type of digital ad answer, you would look at him and be like, what the heck is this guy talking about? Just answer my question.
What answer do you think they give him?
Yeah, let's put all your information. Let's take a test drive. Let's put all your
it might not be
CRM and
verbatim, but
an hour and a half later, I'll show you
that lease payment.
Well, they might. My point is to be able to get an answer. How about this, Jeff? What if you walked in and you said, hey, what's your lease answer? And all of a sudden the guy was like this, and you got a little, he held up a sign. He's like, oh, click here for your reward card or whatever it is. It's like, no, you wouldn't do that in person. So why are we doing that digitally?
No, I get your point. Yeah.
So that's what my whole theme is about, and that's obviously what we baked into dealer teamwork with regards to, if somebody's asking a question, answer it. That's all it is. So if I'm asking for what is the savings amount, how much am I going to save? Okay, this guy is probably he's buying a car, but he's probably a cash buyer, so he's interested in the savings amount. He may not be interested in the lease payment amount. So if that's his query, answer it, or at least have a page that has that content. Because obviously from a user experience standpoint, if you have that content, they're going to be able to find it. Even better, if you have the content, Google can find it to show it to that shopper sooner. That's all it comes down to. And that's the concept around driving more traffic to your own website versus paying good hard-earned money for a third-party website that isn't going to be able to answer that question, that you aren't going to possibly be able to track as well as you can through your own site. That's my point. But stop doing that. Or even worse, those buttons that move around when you come to the website, you can't close them.
Oh, they're still around?
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen one of those in a while.
I've seen the floaters.
So Eric, it sounds like Digital Dealer was pretty successful for dealer teamwork. You had a great time out there, and you're leaving Sunday for driving sales.
Yeah, so we're gonna do.
You guys have are you speaking?
Yeah, Sean is speaking with. Sean's actually speaking with Ferris from Drivers Village.
Okay.
The guys with the big mall store out in Syracuse.
It's a cool operation.
It's a crazy operation. It's just so awesome to see. It's literally a gigantic regional mall.
Drivers Village.
Whatever, 17 different brands.
Does it make you a little nostalgic, Eric?
A little bit. But it's a great operation. And then I'm presenting on Tuesday, I believe it is, and I'm so the format and the topic is the topic rather is the 9.5 things that you're not the digital items that you're not talking about in your 20 group, but the format is going to be even more exciting. So anybody that is going to go, please show up. We've got I'm going to do Marketing Jeopardy. So it's not going to be me just doing a normal presentation. We're literally doing a Jeopardy game. And I got 3 contestants. I got Joe Webb, I got Brian Armstrong, and I got Dan Moore. Those are going to be the 3 contestants. And we've got our topics just like we talked about today. And we've got Jeopardy style question and answer. So it's going to be
sounds like
much
fun.
more interactive.
You should record that. That sounds like it'll be funny as hell.
No, it'll be fun. It takes me back to way back in the day, Alex. I did a session at Driving Sales. And again, back then even, I wanted to do something different, wanted to do something memorable and entertaining. And we had a panel, and Jeff was on it. We had Larry Bruce, they had Ken Potter, and Dennis Galbraith. Just the best combination of personalities going clashing at each other. And we recorded it, and unfortunately, the person recording it never pushed the record button on the camera.
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
Who was that?
But it was good. But we will absolutely record this one. This one should be fun. You know, between Brian and Dan and Joe, we should have a great lineup there. But we got some great questions. And again, the theme, Jeff, is very simple. These are all the basic things that you need to understand. Yeah. And if you can't grasp it from a Jeopardy style type of format, you know, again, it's going to be a little bit difficult for somebody to be able to grasp it in a practical, practical usage, case scenario. But this is the type of stuff that you have to know, and you have to be able to have that at the tip of your head, the tip of your tongue, and in your mind. But and I don't care too whether you're actually doing this stuff, on a day-to-day basis, where some of us are, or you're on the other side of the coin where you're the person managing the process. Again, whether you're managing it internally or you're managing it through a vendor. You have to understand the stuff. Nobody should be taking advantage at this point. Nobody should have a vendor that they literally just consider, oh yeah, this is the guy that I write a check to and I buy their stuff. We're beyond that. Everybody should have a trusted advisor, the relationships that we have. My presentation at Digital Dealer this week, guys, was with Phil Nightingale and Lisa Hamilton, the GM and the dealer principal from Mel Hamilton Ford. That talk about a relationship. Oh my God! I mean, nobody wants to hear me get up and just talk about what it is that we do and stuff like that. So, what better to have the dealer principal up there, literally talking about the mistakes they did, the mindset that they had to make these decisions to go all in on digital like this, and just hear about their experiences. And what a great way to get that stuff across. And again, have the relationship built around a trusted advisor type of relationship. And that's what it's another thing that I think, unfortunately, that the industry is experiencing right now, is that there are not enough trusted advisors. Yes, I know we all have to make money, but the way that a lot of us are going about it, unfortunately, it's shameful in my opinion.
Elaborate.
Just the methods that are being used. Like I said before, setting up a goal conversion just so you can come back and say, hey, Bob, your site converts at 87%. Yeah. We're stuck in this trajectory of just, hey, let's show the highest number possible so we can make the dealer feel good. That doesn't solve anything. Dealer catch on to that in another 3 months when the next vendor comes by and shows them a different bigger number.
Well, Ryan, we should go back to conversions on map views.
Yeah. Hey, Jason Rice is still an advocate of that. He's a smart dude. So Ryan Everson was just speaking on that, and third-party sites, third-party services, and is there a better way to hold them accountable?
Always.
But
here we are, the tip of the spear, let's say, 1%. I don't know if we can put ourselves there, but we're the only ones talking about this stuff. You go out and the other 99% of the dealer body is just listening to the rep that walks in the door and buys them lunch. So
true.
Well, you want to get a dealer's attention. You have the ability or the opportunity to make it an educational based word track where you have a chance to sit down and really go through some of these educational items, but at the same time, Alex, show them the difference. And again, they have to have faith. There has to be trust there. They have to jump in all in with this. And give it 90 days or so, and the dealer will see the difference with regards to what they spend and what they got out of it. We did that. I had to do the same exact thing with our dealer, with my dealer partner in the used car store.
Eric, you've got to write a dealer refresh article now. All right. What you ask when they walk in.
I would be happy to. But the point of it is, John even. I worked with John when we started Auction Direct. He was my CEO there. Then we go in together on these used car stores, and he's still, and it's not that he didn't trust me, it's that he didn't understand, and as much as it took time, and I treat it with kid gloves with him and just try to walk him through the process. But it took a long time even for him to understand that he needed to pull the trigger on the third party site to be able to optimize the website itself. And that change, is hard for dealers, and I like to think that I have the level of empathy to understand it. I watched John go through it. I watched him struggle with it. And it's a hard thing for a lot of dealers to do. I saw Lisa Hamilton from Hamilton Ford. She stood there on stage next to me telling a room full of dealers how hard that was for her to make that decision to finally move away from what she was doing, from some of the traditional stuff, and even from some of the crap digital that she had experienced. And once she had that full faith and trust of her, of us, of the trusted advisor type of role, she just had to, take it for what it was worth and go all in. But it's hard for dealers to do. I understand that. It's very hard.
Big jump.
Yeah, and I understand too. It's even harder. You got these internet managers, e-commerce directors, whatever you want to call them. Everybody wants to try to do the right thing, and that's even harder if you're in an influencer type of position, trying to tell your dealer principal, "Hey, don't worry about it. This is good stuff. This is my buddy Joe that I met from the conference. You got to try his new product." It's a hard thing to do. And it's but I think, again, to my point earlier, Jeff, the industry is changing to the point where the dealers now, not everything is so rosy. Sales are a little bit flat. Some brands are up, and a lot of brands are down right now. The margin compression is still a big issue, and people are figuring out now, got to be a little bit cautious. We got to be a little bit more careful, and we got to figure out, hey, is there a better way for us to spend our money to drive traffic in? And the answer is yes. It's just a matter of getting the right people that are going to be able to tell the right information, again, back to the right people. So, that's it's not going to happen overnight, but it's happening, right? I saw it this week. I saw it at a digital dealer.
The dealerships that embrace it are it's paying off for them.
Absolutely.
Eric, it's always a pleasure, my man.
I love you, Jeff. That's one of my, you were one of the first guys I ever met in the business.
Go way back.
Yeah, and Alex, same with you. You were one of the original guys I met in the business. I appreciate your friendship as well, and you guys have always been good to me. Whatever I can do to help support you guys, I always love Dealer Refresh.
Likewise.
Appreciate it. We love you as well, man. All right, enjoy the conference. Enjoy Vegas. So you're leaving on Sunday, so. Safe travels, all that good stuff.
Appreciate it. Anybody that's out there, stop by and say hi. Come see our session.
Yeah,
we'll have a lot of fun.
If you do get a recording of the Jeopardy thing, maybe we could host it on Dealer Refresh if driving sales would be okay with that. I don't know. I don't really have much relationships over there anymore. It's big change of guard over there.
Yeah, well, there's a couple guys there, so I'll ask Bart afterwards and see what we can do. See if we can get a copy.
All right, Eric. Thank you so much. Everybody, we'll be back here next Friday. Who do we have next Friday, Alex?
We have Auto Lead Stars, Ilana.
That's Ilana. Fantastic. All right. Next Friday, this time. See everybody next week.
See you later.